Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Today we're back here with just Scorcher, and today we got the top 10 Darkest Zelda Moments. So yeah, these are basically all the darkest moments from the Zelda franchise. You know, basically Link dying, Hero's Shade, Majora's Mask, Entirety. Yeah, those dark moments. So, let's just see let's see these franchise moments and we're like, how did Nintendo get that away with it? Be sure to like, subscribe for more, hope you enjoy. Here we go.
The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Available September 26th.
Josh is actually playing that right now. I think not!
Nearly a decade ago, I took you through the top 10 darkest Mario moments. Now it's time for Nintendo's other flagship franchise.
Yep, your turn,
Being
Zelda.
an
Or
older
Link.
demographic, the dark moments in Zelda aren't quite as surprising as the ones in Mario. Though, that doesn't stop them from hitting as hard. Now, being a franchise-based list, there is the one per game rule. Otherwise, they'd all be from Majora's Mask.
Oh, nothing. Just a little foreshadowing.
Pretty much foreshadowing. Here we go. Start it up. First up, number 10.
There are very few situations that terrify the human race more than the apocalypse. Whether it's the Book of Revelation, a zombie virus, or nuclear war, it's pretty haunting to think about. But despite our best efforts, our world
our lives
will
and
come
worlds
to an
can
end
end like
eventually.
that.
And if you
Being
find
careful.
yourself struggling to accept that, you might want to take an example from Hilda and Ravio from A Link Between Worlds.
Oh.
Set many years after the events of A Link to the Past, we must once again bring peace to the Kingdom of Hyrule after Zelda is kidnapped by the evil sorcerer Yuga. To save her, you must travel to a world parallel to Hyrule known as Lorule. Not gonna lie, that pun is very mid-rule. I'm not
Very
even
mid.
numb to the pain at this point.
I've felt worse.
Once you finally make it to Lorule, it's there that we meet Princess Hilda, aka Zelda's otherworldly counterpart. At some point, she reveals to us that Lorule used to have a Triforce of its own, but it was destroyed after the citizens found that it caused too much conflict among them. As it turns out, though, being conflict avoidant comes with dire consequences, and unfortunately for us, Hilda is willing to do anything to save her kingdom, even if it means tricking Link and Zelda into stealing Hyrule's Triforce for her. Now, she does become good in the end, but without Hyrule's Triforce, Lorule is still screwed. And yet, Hilda and Ravio are okay with this. As they bid Link and Zelda a final farewell, they just stand and wait for Lorule's inevitable end. But then, a literal light in the darkness emerges as Link and Zelda use their Triforce to wish back Lorule's, saving Hilda and Ravio as well as all of Lorule's citizens. The happy ending may put this moment lower on the list, but it doesn't change the fact that, for a moment, Hilda and Ravio found themselves at peace with the hopelessness of their situation. It's especially grim with how it gets us to empathize with Hilda. You know, the one who tricked Link and Zelda into betraying their own kingdom? Yes, what she did was wrong, but what would you do if your world was on the brink of extinction?
Well, I say we get drunk because I'm all out of ideas.
Much like the rest of us, she wanted to do everything in her power to keep her world from ending. But eventually, she decided that dying with dignity was better than living as a genocider. It may be bleak, but given how afraid Hilda was of her kingdom dying, and how afraid Ravio was of pretty much everything, readily accepting their fates might be the bravest thing both of them have ever done. Sheesh, if the literal end of the world is only number 10, I shudder to see what we got ahead of us.
Well, just heads up. Next up, number 9.
You know, I mentioned that Zelda games have a more mature tone compared to Mario, but the first few games didn't really have that. Well, besides the cursing you did while going through Death Mountain in Zelda 2.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Link to the Past that we started out with a pretty eerie tone. You boot up the game, and the first thing you see is the king's skeletal corpse.
Oh boy, that's a tone setter.
You wake up hearing Zelda's voice saying she's a prisoner, and your uncle goes out while telling you to stay home. Worried, you grab your torch and go after him. It's dark and raining. The local guards who are supposed to keep the peace are attacking you despite being unarmed. You get to the castle and find your uncle mortally injured. Taking his sword and shield, his last request was to save Zelda. The guards are still hostile as you make your way to Zelda in the castle dungeon. Even after helping her, you're being hunted down, trying to find a hidden passage to escape together. And then, once you finally escape, the sun comes out and the normal happy-go-lucky Zelda adventure begins. That is, until you attack the chickens or scare this one townsfolk who sicks the guards after you again.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a short section, but it really sets the tone for the rest of the game, and a massive departure from the series up to this point. It shows why Link to the Past is the game that solidified the Zelda formula we've loved for all these years.
True. I really gotta find some time to play it, you know? Am I right?
Once again, I gotta give Breath
Breath
of
of
the
the
Wild
Wild now.
major props for trying something new with the story and making it work. This time around, Link awakens in what little remains of Hyrule with no memory of the past. The kingdom was reduced to rubble, and Link's been asleep for 100 years. Along with the usual hero shtick, our silent adventurer will have to locate 18 pieces of his fractured memories scattered throughout Hyrule. And the flashbacks don't paint a happy picture of the past. Some are
Yeah, not good.
bittersweet, some are freaking heartbreaking, and some are... It's like a kicking a puppy. Stop teasing me. Arguably, the bleakish flashback is unlocked once you find the other captured memories, and it fills us in on how it all came to this. In the final battle against Calamity Ganon's Guardians, the 4 champions have fallen, and Link and Zelda are the only ones left standing on the battlefield. Link is in absolutely no shape to keep going, but
But he
that
still
won't
wants to
stop him
fight.
from defending his princess. But at the last minute, Zelda tries to protect him and unlocks her sealing power. The Guardians are deactivated,
For
but
now.
there's no time to celebrate as Link's body finally gives out. He lies in his princess's arms, able to rest easy, knowing that she's safe, while Zelda mourns her hero. But then, a slight glimmer of hope. The Master Sword, it's still glowing. That means it's not too late. Without delay, Zelda has Link brought to the Shrine of Resurrection, where he slumbers for over a century. His wounds and ailments disappeared, but so did his memories. His life before his awakening, his friends, and even his family are all forgotten. All the while, he's got the occasional bitter Betty blaming him for failing Hyrule. I know you're mourning, Zora, but you think you're the only one hurting?
Yeah,
To
no
add
kidding.
another bleak layer to all this, it's unclear
Oof.
what really wiped Link's memories away. Was it actually the shrine, or did the trauma from this near-death experience cause him to lose part of himself? The way they word it, getting
be.
back all those memories is gonna be a painful experience, not unlike those who suffer from PTSD. It's not just about
be.
restoring Link as a person. Finding all those memories is a process to help him heal from the trauma forced on him. And this is only the start of the recovery. Is this a Nintendo game or an allegory for mental health?
Could be either or. Honestly, with Link, like, if he knew about the past timelines, I'd probably be thinking that too. Yikes. Yeah, I'd be worried about what the heck to do. Because, frankly, I don't even know what to do if I was in this situation. Like, I mean, think about it. You lose your memory, you wake up, don't know who the heck you are, and you gotta figure out what to do. So, yeesh. Good luck. It is definitely a big departure from the remaining, like, timeline. You know what I mean. Anyway, next. So harsh. 7?
This entry is brought to you by one of the 4 Bellum fans in existence.
Wow, how
Ah.
validating.
Whoa.
Bellum from Phantom Hourglass may not have been the most
Oh, Bellum?
popular big bad in Zelda, at least of all because of the game he features in, but he does bring a
Yeesh.
good amount of grimness onto the table. Most Zelda villains are sapient in some way, but Bellum?
Not
He's a
much.
monster, through and through. A parasitic phantom squid that feeds on life force and leaves its victims a stony husk. Like a lot of apex predators, he's also surprisingly intelligent. He creates a ghost ship to lure in unsuspecting sailors with the promise of great treasures, only to suck the life out of them.
Right.
Bellum is so devastating that even the Ocean King couldn't defeat him. Instead, he had to be sealed away in the king's own temple. That doesn't stop Bellum's usual habits, however. He uses the Ocean King's life force to create new minions patrolling the temple and continues to sap the life of anyone foolish enough to venture inside.
Yep.
Oh, but that's not all he's got.
Like
Bellum
vampiric
can
vampire.
possess people too, transforming Linebeck into a phantom in a way that looks pretty painful.
Oof.
Yeah, if it's not apparent yet, possession is kind
Yeah,
of an ick for
Nintendo's
me.
thing, yeah.
Bellum seems like just another monster on a surface level, but the realistically
Yeah, but with the
animal
story
way he
kind of deal?
functions, combined
Good
with
luck.
the visible body count, gives some depth to how creepy he really is. Not unlike the ocean itself and the temple he inhabits. If by some miracle we get to see Bellum again, I'd like him to get even bigger than Morpheal. Now that's sure to draw in those Subnautica fans.
I guess, but whatever floats your boat. Literally in this case. Next.
As the de facto most popular Zelda game by a
Ocarina?
country mile, Ocarina of Time's got kind of a reputation for being the vanilla flavoring of 3D Zelda. As
Harsh.
such, people really often forget just how far this game pushed the envelope.
Ooh.
Yeah, Ocarina is pretty much ground zero for Zelda having sudden creepy and disturbing moments that really push Nintendo's family-friendly image. Sure, everyone knows the bombshell that is the Shadow Temple, but even before that, Ocarina has a weird
pretty dark
fascination
story.
with having a lot of dark stuff happen near or in populated areas. In fact, the game
Watch.
pulls this shtick twice. So let's start with the first real gut punch. You get to the Temple of Time and pull the Master Sword from its pedestal. Ganondorf hits you with all according to Keikaku, and Rauru says that he
Keikaku.
took that 7-year gap to invade Hyrule. But hey, you're an adult now. You got the legendary sword. What's the worst that can happen?
This. Yep. The land is desolate.
Well, this sucks.
So, that's the
All
worst
this-
that could happen. The once bright and cheery castle town is now abandoned and post-apocalyptic. And with Dead Mountain's eerie volcanic sky in the background, it looks like Ganondorf actually ended the world. And that's not even getting to the unavoidable swarm of re-deads in the town square jump scaring you. Yeah, to the uninitiated, this entire section is an absolute shock to the system. If you played this game as a kid, you were terrified of this bit. Admit it. But hey, at least the majority of Castletown's residents managed to flee to safety in Kakariko. Surely everybody's safe there, and there's absolutely nothing dark and horrific about this quaint town,
And
right?
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, you know where this is going.
This will sucks.
The bottom of the well is the darkest part of Ocarina and cements that, no, Hyrule was still just as terrifying even without Ganondorf running the show. Right underneath this innocent-looking village is a literal torture dungeon.
Yeesh.
Complete with bloody racks, pools of acid, plenty of undead, and corpses making up the walls of entire rooms. And all of it is capped off by one of the most infamous mini-bosses in the series, Dead Hand. An emaciated, bloodied, fleshy thing that slowly shuffles up till it goes right for the neck with this downright horrific unhinged jaw. For those unaware, this aberration is what inspired one of D&D's most popular unofficial monsters, the False Hydra.
This will.
The one
Yeah, fuck the well.
Castletown and the well just shatters any sense of safety in Hyrule. The two seemingly safest places in the kingdom, and one of them gets wiped off the map, while the other has everyone drinking from corpse water. You know why Zelda has weird character designs? Is everyone just suffering for the side effects of this? Someone get OSHA involved, man.
I don't think they have that. I don't know what they would do. It's like the color of space. Number 5?
Following his victory at the end of A Link to the Past, our boy Link decides to do a little globe-trotting. He gets caught in a thunderstorm at sea and wakes up on Koholint Island, a mysterious land with an
Hello,
enormous
Link's
egg
Awakening.
perched on the mountaintops. That's not ominous in the least. The locals are friendly enough outside of the usual monsters, but there's a problem. No one knows what's beyond the horizons, and Link can't leave the island and head home. But all's not lost yet, folks. That giant egg in the mountains, turns out it holds a mysterious deity called the Windfish. And the only way for Link to return home is to wake the sleeping giant up. You know what that means?
Quest time!
Hooray! Journey across the island and find the 8 magical instruments, battle the occasional monster, and come face to face with each dungeon's ghoulish guardian, known as the Nightmares. They all seem desperate to stop you from waking the big fish up. Wonder why.
Why?
One grim explanation later.
Beta?
Blissful
Yeah.
ignorance is highly underrated. Further on in the game, we're led to a dungeon mural that reveals the horrible truth about Koholint Island. It's not real. It's all an illusionary
good for the
world
fish.
dreamt up by the Windfish. The animals, the islanders, our new friend Marin, they're all just figments of the sleeping god's brain. And the minute he wakes
Yeah,
up,
wake the
the
dreamer
island
plummet will
and
vanish
everyone
much
that's
like
met
a
along
bubble on
way
the needle.
will cease to exist. With that context, getting all those instruments to wake the Titan is basically...
Distance.
I loathe Tuesdays. What
Pretty
makes this
much.
hurt even more is how the Islanders are blissfully unaware of all this. They're just happily living their lives as best they can, and it's all
Maybe
a
I knew that.
lie. What do we do? Do we continue the quest and wipe out an entire civilization just to get home? Or do we let them keep going while we never see Hyrule or Zelda ever again? We cautiously keep going with the mission. Turns out we made the right call. The final bosses of the game, the Shadow Nightmares, were the ones who created the monsters roaming around the island. They're parasites that corrupted the slumbering windfish's dreams. As long as he remained asleep, they could take over the island and feed off of him forever. The friendly citizens of Kolint would have suffered far worse. The sad truth is that destroying the dream was an act of mercy, saving the fish from being trapped in his dreams for eternity and sparing the islanders from the Shadow Nightmare's tyranny. With all the bonds you made on the island, it feels like a no-win situation for everyone. Unfortunately, being a hero means sometimes you have to make tough decisions for the greater good.
Oh, speaking of which, coming up, number 4.
It isn't enough to defeat Ganondorf or fix the Master Sword.
Oh, here we go.
Zelda needs to get stronger. There is one way, though.
Yep. Know where this
How
is going.
much are you willing to sacrifice in the name of protecting something you care about? The answer will, of course, vary from person to person. Many people consider the laying down of one's own life to be the highest form of sacrifice. You know what? I'm not doing that whole spiel again. It's Light Dragon from Tears of the Kingdom.
Shocking.
Not really.
How could I not put this on the list? Watching Zelda turn into the Light Dragon is a full cutscene away from body horror. It is traumatizing, man. To sum up, Tears of the Kingdom opens with Link and Zelda finding a mummified Ganondorf, and once awakened, he uses his blight to cut off Link's arm, destroy the Master Sword, and catapult Zelda back in time. Now, those of you familiar with Zelda will recall that there isn't a blacksmith alive that possesses the amount of sacred power needed to repair the Master Sword. So, Link sends it to the distant past for Zelda to fix. However, the only tool at her disposal is the secret stone around her neck, and even that isn't powerful enough on its own to fix the Master Sword. The only way Zelda can harness enough power to fix it is if she swallows the sacred stone and transforms into an immortal and mindless dragon. And yeah, the ensuing transformation sequence as Zelda makes one last request to Link before becoming the feral light dragon is enough to make anyone shudder. I'm not sure what's scarier, the idea of losing one's cognition or actually watching it happen to somebody. Now, I used to believe that there may exist some timelines that Zelda was stuck as a dragon, but Nintendo has recently confirmed that the Calamity Saga is its own timeline. So, not as dark as it could have been, but still. Imagine having to live forever as a senseless beast. Wasn't this supposed to be a fun little fantasy game where you smash pots to get rupees?
What? Hey, what the hell are you doing on my stuff?
I'm looking for rupees.
Now, Zelda does revert back to normal. Like, cool, happy ending for all. But that does not detract from the seriously dark transformation sequence made even darker by its implications. Also, this doesn't necessarily add to its darkness, but watching Link pull the Master Sword out of Light Dragon Zelda may be the most epic pulling out the Master Sword moment in the entire Zelda franchise. And all it took was implied body horror to get there. Hashtag
worth it? I don't know, I don't think Zelda would appreciate that, but still, the fact that it was in her head, too. Just, yeesh, that's gotta be a headache. No wonder that thing was mindless. What, I had to say it. Yeah, I mean, cool dragon transformation, but even I don't know if that's worth it. I like to keep my mind, thank you very much. Let's embrace for the beast. Alright, moving on. Number 3, last ones. Here we go. What's next?
So, you know the whole thing where games will say that you have to save the world from a threat and give you a looming bad result to keep you motivated? You know, stuff like, if you don't stop the villain, the world will end. Well, typically, how it goes is the game will tell you you have to act fast, but realistically, you have all the time in the world. Complete those fishing side quests, no rush. Minish Cap pulls this trope in its final chapter. Once you finish your trek through Dark Hyrule Castle and reach the boss door, Hyrule's evilest pretty boy, Vati, gives an announcement that upon the third strike of a bell, he will have finished draining the energy from Princess Zelda, who he happens to have petrified in stone, and become an unstoppable god. So, basic villainous boasting, and you run through a few rooms with scripted bell tolls. You figure, yeah, the game's just upping the dramatics to make Vati seem like a bigger threat, and you get to the final room where you have to face against 3 Dark Nuts at once. Now, a lot of people are going to be able to beat these guys, no sweat. But these are still Dark Nuts. They take a while to kill. Should you struggle against the trio enough, well, let's let the game speak for itself.
Yep. The last one. Yep.
Sorry, what?
Game over.
You take too long, Vati completes his ritual, and you get a
Game over.
Let me repeat that.
Yeah,
Vati
you gotta move it. Wins.
Zelda
Dies.
They really pulled a fast one adding this to the game because we didn't even have a timer for this segment. Minish Cap has been pretty free of the usual nightmare stuff plaguing other Zelda games, so
True.
this hits you right when you least expect it. It clearly tells you, no, Vati's a real threat. You need to hustle now. And then there's the implications. You know how the Zelda timeline has the downfall timeline? The one where Link dies to Ganon and Ocarina and the resulting fallout? Yeah.
Eesh.
This game shows you exactly what a scenario like that would be. A timeline where Vati wins and ascends to godhood, ruling over Hyrule for who knows how long. One where Princess Zelda fades into, well,
Nothing.
a legend. Darkness aside, there's just a whole host of possibilities with this idea, isn't there? Just imagine what you could do. The stories that could be told where Vati takes the role that Ganon does. Fanfic writers, hop on the scenario, I beg you. Or heck, I wonder if that could be a timeline for future games to explore. I mean,
Wouldn't be
we explored
surprised.
the ones where Link dies in Ocarina of Time. The potential is endless.
Focus. Yeesh. Anyway, number 2. Fuck that one. Good.
Twilight Princess.
There we
Okay,
go.
fine. I know Twilight is the darkest Zelda game since Majora,
Literally.
so there may be some parts that you might be thinking about, like the Arbiter's Grounds or Zant's literal mental breakdown. But you know what I'm talking about here. We're talking about that scene.
Yeah,
What
the
you
Shadow
think of
Links.
whenever you see blank eyes or a bunch of laughing, falling people. And that is all the context I'm giving. Shortly after
Watch.
saving the light spirit Lanayru, he decides to give Link a vision of the history of what he seeks, the Fused Shadow. We see Link and his childhood friend Ilia looking over the Triforce, but then Ilia tries to stab Link, but Link stabs her first and runs to
What?
the Triforce. 3 Dark Links appear with the Fused Shadow, covering the Triforce and basically vaporizing Link. And then Link appears as one of the Dark Clones with the creepiest blank eyes you'll ever see. The 3 light spirits come down and get rid of the Fused Shadow. The blank eye Link that just screams before he disappears with the other Dark Links. Then-
What just happened?
I didn't know drenched in metaphor was a synonym for tripping balls.
Pretty much.
Describe this to anyone who was unfamiliar with Zelda. They think we were talking about a creepypasta.
Yeah, no
For some
kidding. It does
context,
sound like it.
Lanayru was giving a warning to Link about the Fused Shadow. The Link and Ilia at the beginning represented normal Hylians coveting the Triforce.
Oh.
The Dark Links represented the interlopers who created the Shadow to enter the Sacred Realm. The Blank-Eyed Link represented what would happen if our boy surrendered himself to said power. The scream would be the punishment for doing so. And the falling Ilias are... well, that one's
Still
still for
creepy.
interpretation, but
Still creepy.
generally it's all the people you could rule over if you decide to use the power of the Fused Shadow. The dazed look Link had at the very end can be seen as him enjoying feeling some of the power of the Shadow before snapping back to reality. How does this play for the rest of the game? Really? Nothing. Despite that look, Link doesn't get possessed at all. It's actually more of a warning to Midna than anything else, since she's the one who wants to use the Shadow to kill Zant. It's a lesson that craving power would result in chaos or self-destruction. Doesn't stop you from going after that last piece, though, but unless you watched a lore video or are really good at figuring out messaging, good luck not having to clean your pants after this scene. And
do
on the
that.
complete other side of the subtlety spectrum, I want to take a quick moment to talk about something really exciting. We're working on an animation pitting Starfire from DC against Blaze the Cat from Sega, and it's going to be a fiery showdown.
Literally.
Similar to others, we've done a lot of scientific and logical analysis of the character's lore and abilities, and the animation showcasing our research is well underway. We've already gotten a lot of support for this project, but we need your help to bring it across the finish line. By supporting us on Ko-fi, not only will you get some sweet rewards like exclusive artwork and early access, but you'll also help decide the fate of potentially future battles. You could even vote on the next fight. Also, once we get this project halfway funded, we'll release the pre-fight animatic as a small preview. So if that's something you want to see, please check out the link in the description and in the pinned comment below to support the campaign. But if you can't really donate, that's fine too. Just signal boosting the Ko-fi page or the trailer on the channel will do more than you think. Every little bit helps, and together, we can make this fight legendary.
For this head!
Pretty much. A little side project, but anyway, number 1.
And now for number 1, the entry you've all been waiting for,
Majora's
Mask. Yeah, real original, I know. But can you really blame me? From start to finish, this game is one long stream of dark, weird, and straight up creepy moments. If it wasn't for the 1 per game rule, this list could easily have been the top 10 darkest Majora's Mask moments. In lieu of that, I present to you the top 5 darkest Majora's Mask moments.
Top 5.
Majora's Mask is a game that
So
loves
Anju
its
and
cycles.
Kafel.
The time you spend working on them can easily eclipse the main objective. By far, the biggest one is the Anju and Cafe side quest. It spans from the first day to the final hours. The titular characters are a pair of star-crossed lovers, and it's up to you to reunite them. It's not easy though, as missing even one event can lock you out of it for the entire cycle. And if you really mess up, Cafe gets trapped in Seiken's hideout. He doesn't even panic, just accepts his fate and apologizes for getting Link involved. If Anju and Cafe finally reunite, it's right before the moon falls. The two of them just accept their fate, happy to be together for any amount of time. Especially bad if you thought you did something wrong and played the Song of Time right before Cafe came in. Them.
Oops.
No, really, we don't even get a proper name for them. Are
Yeah,
they
it's just
ghosts? Aliens? Ghosts of aliens? Whatever they are, they're as weird as they are freaking creepy. You have to defend the ranch against these things, and failing to do so will result in Romani getting abducted. You later find her like this. What exactly did they do to her?
You don't want to know. Don't tell him. You shouldn't have told me, but you did. And now I'm telling you, you don't want to know.
And then you realize, oh yeah, they invade every cycle. So unless you actively stop it, Romani gets abducted a heck of a lot.
Oh,
Oh, there goes Romani. The moment you turn on the game, you're thrown into the deep end. You see this freaking looking mask heading straight towards you. The first cutscene takes place in a mysterious forest where Link is ambushed and the Ocarina of Time is stolen from him by this creature with the same mask you just saw. Then you get turned into a Deku Scrub in a horrific sequence and get thrust into a world completely unknown to you. Your only allies are a less than friendly fairy and a guy you're pretty sure is going to stab you in the back. The entire part with the Deku Scrubs was actually inspired by nightmares Eiji Aonuma had from the tight deadlines. Oh, that explains so much. The Moonfall. This thing is a constant presence throughout your entire journey. Everything you do is punctuated by the fact that taking too long will result in the world being destroyed. The anticipation only builds with the music in Clocktown. It goes from peaceful to nervous to panicked to tragically resigned. And when the moon does fall, it's every bit as horrifying as you'd expect. Keep in mind, this game came out in the year 2000. The only way most of us at the time were able to see this was by letting the world end. We had no one to blame but ourselves. To put this into perspective, this was the first Zelda game the writer of this segment ever played. While it definitely scared him, this is the only part that made him straight up turn the game off. By far, the darkest area of the entire game is Akana Canyon. Everything about it just feels so horrifically off.
Yeah.
So much you can make
Uncanny Village much.
Wait, are we seriously doing a mini countdown within a mini countdown? Hell, why not?
I'm going deeper, Leo.
Yep, going in deep. Go!
What is this thing?
Theology of
There's
Emptiness.
no hidden lore behind it. You just play a weirdly depressing song and make bootleg clones of yourself.
I've been drawn.
Especially the Goron one. No wonder it inspired a creepypasta. So, before you can even enter a
hello, Bob.
you need to get a Garo's mask. Once there, it's possible to encounter them by wearing it, in
There
which
you go.
they pop out of the ground, mistake you for their master, and then trap you in a ring of fire for a duel. Kind of creepy, but then you learn what they actually
Bob.
are. Empty shells of spies in the kingdom kept alive by sheer force of willpower.
Yeesh.
And it's implied that if they were to die or get captured on enemy ground, they unalived themselves. Freaky fact? That's actually what real-life samurai did. Two of the characters that you meet in Akana are the
Sharp and
Composer
Flat.
brothers, Sharp and Flat. Sharp locked up his brother beneath the graveyard and put a curse on the canyon, causing Gibdos to invade. If you try to use the Song of Healing on Sharp, it won't work. He explains it's because the song no longer has any meaning to him. That, and he
Poor
sold
dude.
his soul to the devil. Yeah, just as Jesus is canon in Zelda, so is Satan. Neat. Fitting for such a desolate area,
And-
the Akana region has a pretty dark backstory. Due to a war with the nation the Garo hail from, the kingdom is in complete ruins in the present day.
Drenched in blood.
However, death is not an escape for the citizens. Most of the people and enemies you encounter are either ghosts incapable of moving on or way past their expiration date. And even after completing the stone tower, we never know just what its purpose was. Wait a minute. A ruined kingdom with a dreary atmosphere populated by undead enemies where the player has to put together the backstory themselves. Majora's Mask was the original Dark Souls. The
Can be.
freakiest
And
moment
they're
in
the
Akana is also
Gibdo.
one of the first you experience. Being a Valley of the Dead, it's infested with Gibdos. After you clear them out via a giant music box, you go inside and, well, I'll just let the clip speak for itself.
Whoa! Tommy!
What the fuck? Of course, you heal him and everything goes back to normal for them, but
For now.
the father turned into a monster that you need to lock away.
Just so much.
Pretty heavy stuff. I'm Josh Scorcher and...
What the?
That's it. I'm putting a limit on mini countouts from now on.
No kidding.
Is my voice really that high and whiny?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been meaning to tell you that for a while now.
Okay, that happened. Jesus Christ. I have nothing left to say to that. What the hell? Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Till next time, I'll see you around. Adios.